Hey everybody, welcome to the Weekday Warriors of Wrestling 4. We're recording on March 4th, 2021. I'm Eric Clancy, joined by Patrick Kelly. We are talking a ton of stuff today. We're talking AEW Dynamite. We're talking Revolution. We are talking who is the mystery person that's being signed by AEW. We're talking NXT's move to Tuesday night. So we got a lot of stuff to talk about here. It was a big week, Patrick. It was a big week in wrestling. I think we should probably start with NXT moving to Tuesdays. Then we can go into Dynamite show on Wednesday and Revolution and kind of end there and talk about who we think this new mystery signing is going to be. It seems to be reported by I can't remember who reported it, but Meltzer confirmed that was kind of the discussion. I think Alvarez said it was set to go, but it looks like NXT in April will be moving to Tuesdays. What are your initial reactions on this?
Well, I hope it's true. I hope we've been saying it for a while now. The move to Wednesday night for NXT, it was done solely to screw with AEW. That was the entire reasoning behind it. That was the only reason they did it. And the end result was basically sucking out any kind of appeal that the NXT brand had, not only from a creative standpoint, because them trying to put on pay-per-view quality matches every single week kind of diluted the brand more than anything else and made them less interesting in the long run. But, and I know you kind of feel the same way, but putting out against AEW and screwing with a new company that's trying to get started, it felt kind of dirty watching NXT. Like, it just felt like kind of a dirty move that that just didn't leave a good taste in my mouth. It just felt completely unnecessary, and it ruined what was probably the thing WWE was producing that I enjoyed the most. So if they moved to Tuesdays, I'd be more than happy with that move, quite honestly.
Yeah, we're preaching to the choir here. Everybody that listens to us knows that AEW is or NXT was put on to siphon viewers away from AEW. It wasn't about putting on a superior product, and it's this, and then there was all that crap that they congratulations, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Well, yeah, who's sprinting now, motherfucker? But the and Triple H saying we've always been on Wednesdays, and like, you haven't. Like, to compare an on-demand program to a live cable program is insane. But that said, I would hope if you are an NXT fan that you're happy about this, because NXT is going to be a more viable property now. And that's the thing. Like, if you are an NXT fan, I feel like you should have been annoyed by this from the beginning, because Vince was basically sacrificing something to hurt a competitor. And there's that bullshit line like, oh, well, the fans are the winner because they can decide what they want to watch. I'm like, the fans would really be winners if they could watch one show on one night and then the other on the other night. But that's, it's like the idea that they're both on Wednesday. It's like, oh, the fans are the winners. No, the fans are not the winners because they have to choose between one, and it's live sports. So you want to watch it live. So it's just like, I'm glad it's going there. I think both companies will do better. I think this is a huge hit for Vince's plan, which, of course, was to kill AEW. That didn't work when they got the TV deal with TNT. And now they've got the night to themselves. It's not like AEW is going to gain, 600,000 viewers or whatever NXT's thing. But, they may gain 300,000 viewers, so you'll probably start seeing like big episodes of Dynamite doing like Winter is Coming probably does like a 0.48, and maybe it does like 1.2 or 1.1 million. You'll see things like that, and that will make it more competitive with the rest of the night. It can probably beat most NBA games, and they do already, but like they'll be even more competitive. NXT, on the other hand, you're probably going to see a demo bump to like 27, 28, and you're probably going to see like 800,000 people. So, both both brands are going to benefit. The WWE as a company is not, because AEW is going to get more negotiating power. They're going to get more finances. And in the end, that's going to make bigger bidding wars for talent, and which is great for fans, because first of all, it provides excitement for us, the fans, because promoters are more motivated to use talent correctly. And there's also the unpredictability factor of it that makes it like cool and interesting. And there's also the refreshing factor. Patrick, you and I talked about this. Look at WWE in 1990, look at it in 1995, and look at it in 2000. Now look at WWE in 2020, look at it in 2015, and look at it in 2010. I mean, yeah, there's some differences between 2010 and 2000 as far as talent, but the product is essentially the same. I mean, I guess it's Cena instead of Roman Reigns, but like Dolph Ziggler's still there. R-Truth is still there. The Miz is still there. Everybody's kind of still there, and it's just,
and the format hasn't changed. That's the other thing.
No, that's the presentation's exactly the same. But I mean, if you look at 1990, there's Hulk Hogan, the Ultimate Warrior, Macho Man Randy Savage, Ted DiBiase, Rowdy, kind of. But you have all these top stars. By 95, Razor and Diesel were not in the company at that point. Shawn Michaels was a tag team act. Bret Hart was beginning to be a single star. It's a completely different thing. Then you go to 2000, Rock, Triple H, Steve Austin, Foley, Big Show. It's completely different. So it refreshes the roster. It provides places for people to go. I mean, we've said it before. If the guys that were there in the locker room cleared out, and it provided opportunities for Steve Austin, The Rock, and Mick Foley, and Triple H,
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I know you remember living through the Monday Night Wars era and the era of the quote unquote the big three and everything, but that was like a daily news thing. It's like, oh, who's going to show up in this company? And oh, this guy got let go by WWE. Is he going to go to WCW? Is he going to go to ECW? There was a lot of that going on, and it was a daily discussion.
It was exciting.
Yeah, it was very exciting. And it seemed like whenever somebody showed up, somebody else, they would instantly get a refresher. Now, those runs didn't always turn out well, like Raven and WWE, for example, but generally, like the excitement of moving pieces everywhere, it kind of made things added to kind of the unpredictability of everything that was going on at the time.
Yeah. So yeah, that'll be big. We'll see how that goes. But AEW Dynamite last night, initial thoughts, Patrick, what did you think about the show?
As far as setting up the pay-per-view, I thought it did quite well. It left me more excited for what's to come this Sunday. And I for the attractions that they were advertising on this show, I enjoyed the Shaq match as like a circus tent spectacle. I thought that was a lot of fun.
Yeah. So number one, I think this show, I'm not going to say from a creative and artistic standpoint, because I thought the show was great, but I don't know if I'd say it wasn't the best show AEW ever did. Like Winter is Coming was better. There have been better shows, However, as far as pushing a pay-per-view, this is probably the best they've ever pushed a pay-per-view. I think this will be the most ordered AEW pay-per-view ever. And the reason I think that is because this show did a great job. It wasn't the best show they ever did, because Winter is Coming was a better show. They've had better shows, but this show did such a good job pushing the pay-per-view and getting people excited about the pay-per-view.
It did. And like I said, I came out of the show way more excited to see what was going to happen at the pay-per-view, both for the matches and also for the little surprise that they're hyping up. So we'll see how everything turns out.
Yeah. So let's get into the show here. So they opened up with Shaq versus Shaq and Jade versus Cody and Red Velvet, and which was a bold move, because traditionally in pro wrestling you like keep it at the end so you can drag people along. The idea for this was to get people in right away, and then hopefully some of them stick around. So different strategy.
almost like a Saturday night's main event, because a lot of the old Saturday night's main events would be very front loaded.
Yeah.
They would put like the main matches at the front, and then because they knew it's like, look, less and less people are going to watch on a Saturday night the longer the show goes. So we'll put in like a jobber match at the tail end, and that'll be fine. So it was almost like a reverse format.
Well, that's how SNL is essentially booked. You know, like the cold open is the most watched. You get the host stuff at the beginning, and it probably like, I don't want to say peaks, but like you get your last like major spot with like the weekend update or right after the weekend update. But like those final skits, that's where they always like try weird shit. So it was almost like, yeah. So it was almost like an SNL booking. But I thought this match was great. I thought it was a lot of fun. I thought it was like great sports entertainment. I figured everybody was like, oh, I was worried Shaq wouldn't do well, yada yada yada. I kind of knew he would do well in my like gut, because Shaq has so much charisma. Mm-hmm. He's so interesting in everything that he does. And like, it just shows that if this guy wasn't a great basketball player, he would have been a great pro wrestler. He would have been a great something, because he just has that it factor. So I thought the match was great. I thought everybody kind of came out looking better. You know, like, yeah, like Cody, I know people are like, oh, Cody no-sold the power bomb, or like, you know, Cody's got to get over too here. You know, he's going to be here the next.
For sure.
Yeah, I thought the table spot was great. I thought it was such a cool moment that you didn't expect. It looked freaking brutal. I thought Jade came off as a star. I mean, the whole thing, this whole feud was designed to turn Jade into a star. And she's got a great look. And I think the idea, they're like, you know, hey, we're going to put a lot of eggs into this basket. We really need to shore up our women's side, because we don't have as many stars as we have on the men's side. And I think it paid off. I think it really, did a great job making her feel important. So I liked it. The one knock I will give to this is like the Shaq disappearing out of the ambulance. I thought was unnecessary and weird, and like it was very WWE. It was very I would not have done that.
Kind of reminded me of the Ultimate Warrior, like something that you would have seen him do. It's like, so wait, are they trying to imply that he teleported out of the ambulance, or did somebody kidnap him? Or did he get up out of the ambulance and just nobody saw it? Like I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I agree. I think he was like, it's supposed to be he got up, but it was such a quick cut between him getting in there and then Tony opening the door that it's just like, okay, you know, like, yeah, it wasn't clear, and I thought that hurt it.
Yeah, but I want to give some props to Red Velvet, because she was kind of the understudy that was thrown into this thing at the last second, and a lot of people were like, oh, what's she doing in this spot? She doesn't belong there or whatever. And she came off looking fine. She made her moments count. So credit to her for that. Yeah.
So that was good. Then they went right into what I thought was a great idea, which was Pac and Phoenix just killing two jobbers.
Yes. Squash matches are good. More squash matches.
Yeah, and it's just like, well, it was short and it was quick and it kept the pace and the tempo moving, and it made them both look like absolute superstars. They just look like they beat the shit out of those guys. And at the end of the day, people think of squash matches and they're like, oh, they have to be slow and boring. I'm like, no, you're legit getting your stuff over. I don't mean like you do your moves. You do stuff that makes you look like a badass. Like, you kill a guy with a razor's edge. You like super kick him as hard as you can. That's what Pac was doing. He was like hitting him. Like, I mean, I think he was safe and everything was fine, but like it looked brutal and awesome. And for a guy that's probably going to be challenging for the world title pretty soon, it was what they needed. So I thought this was great. I thought it was paced well, and I thought it was a great bridge between the Shaq segment and the Jericho MJF segment.
Yeah, and you know, it's that type of thing. You watching a football game and it's 45-0. It's like certain games you expect to see that because of the disparity in talent and cohesiveness in the team. And you know, wrestling, that's your version of doing that. Just have somebody get completely brutalized for 2 minutes.
Yeah. And I mean, once again, it's like, is it the most like exciting stuff that can be done? No, but like neither are like hype videos or like character building stuff, but like that stuff is important into establishing characters and making people seem like big deals. So like they have a purpose, and you know, every match can't be like fucking Kawada versus, you know, like Masawa.
It's
You
an
know,
important building block.
yeah, exactly. Everything's not the last chapter. So next we had MJF and Jericho and the Inner Circle, and they were doing a press conference with Barstool Sports was there, and also Conrad showed up with. I think he's always a good sport with the jokes that they come at him with. And Eric Bischoff showed up, and I thought. I have to say, I love Eric Bischoff, like constantly returning to troll Jericho anytime there's a Q&A segment.
Yeah, I dug the hell out of the segment. In this first part with the questions, even though there was a mic issue with one of the Barstool guys,
Yeah.
Having Conrad and Eric there immediately perked my interest. And I'm with you. Eric Bischoff's whole character now is just to troll Jericho, and I think it's a nice little running gag that they have going. And Conrad, you know, to his credit, he looks like he sounds and looks like a professional dude when he's doing stuff like this. I think it's great.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, for, you know, many people have done wrestling podcasts, and many people have. Eric Bischoff did a podcast. People have done podcasts before, and they weren't as successful. Like Conrad's the reason those shows are successful. You know, he's the X factor between them. So the Bucks came out. And they cut what I thought was a really good, really fiery babyface promo on Jericho and MJF, and did some good brawling. We got Gallows and Anderson to come out. I thought it was a real good segment. I thought it was really, they showed a lot of fire. They were valiant without being idiots. Yeah, I thought it was good.
Yeah, I thought that whole beatdown was awesome. And Santana and Ortiz were kind of the sacrificial lambs there, but I thought that all came off really well.
So next we go into FTR and Tully against the Jurassic Express. I thought this was great. I thought it was first of all, JJ freaking Dillon came back, which is fantastic.
I popped.
Yeah. As someone who's doing a Monday Night Wars rewatch, seeing JJ is like great. It's just such a cool like JCP moment. But this was such a good use of stunt. I think in small doses as a mascot character, Marco Stunt can really work, especially if you have him against guys like Tully or like non-wrestlers, so he doesn't like kill the credibility of the other people. So I thought they did this really well. And you know, the Sean Spears thing at the end. I mean, Sean Spears kind of bores me, but for the most part. But interesting to see where they're going with this kind of 4 horsemen possible modified stable, and Arn Anderson throwing up the 4 fingers. Like he and Blanchard have had issues in the past, but where is he going to stand now? Are they going to try to bring Cody in? They're interesting possibilities, and they're not completely obvious, and that always intrigues me.
Yeah, I actually would have preferred this. I know at the pay-per-view they're doing Miro and Sabian versus the Best Friends. And I get, you know, Orange Cassidy, you want to get him on pay-per-view. But I think I would have preferred seeing this on pay-per-view just because, you know, I'm a bit of a 4 horseman mark, and I love Arn and Tully and everything. So to see all that play out would have been neat to see on a big event. But, yeah, I thought this all came off really, really well. And I'm intrigued to see where this 4 horseman teasing goes.
It's amazing to me that like Tully Blanchard was like wrestling in 2021. Like he worked in like what the fuck happened? Like Tully Blanchard just must have had all those drug problems, because in the 90s, like he wouldn't have been that old, and he was like done by that point.
He did work that Wrestling Legends pay-per-view, the infamous one where Jake Roberts. Yeah. He did work that one, but I think that was the last time I ever saw him work.
Yeah. I mean, he didn't do anything in the 90s, right?
Nothing that I recall, no.
Yeah. All right. So we had Nyla Rose versus Rio Mizunami.
Can I go on a rant here?
Yeah, please do.
Okay, they do this whole tournament, and I'm thinking, okay, we're going to get an exciting new title match out of this, and hopefully a new title holder, because good God Almighty, the women's division could really use it. And over the last few months, they've inserted a couple of girls. Britt Baker got over as this like Chris Jericho 97 style heel. They introduced Serena Deeb and Thunder Rosa, both great workers that have elevated the quality of the matches. And they've gotten characters like Abaddon and things like that. And it's like, okay, so maybe they've got something here with the women's division to where they can fix it. And they do this whole tournament thing, and it comes down to Nyla Rose, who the last time I saw her work with Shida, it was terrible, to be perfectly honest. It's a match I've already seen. I have no interest in seeing it again. And the other option is Ryo Mizunami, who I had never seen before, and all of her matches for this tournament were shown online, where even fewer people saw it. So now it's Shida versus, no knock on Mizunami, but versus somebody that people don't really know at the pay-per-view. So it just feels like, and I've made this comparison before, it feels like a Taka Michinoku light heavyweight title match where it's just the champion versus whoever it was that they threw in there. And it's like, man, feels like they really wasted this tournament. And again, I just listed a bunch of other options of women that they could have gone with as possible options to win this thing. So I don't know. It feels like a misfire.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think you've got Britt, you've got Thunder Rosa, after this, you've probably got Jade, There are a lot of options, and it's like, first of all, I'm like, I guess I'm happy it's not Nyla Rose, because Shida and Nyla Rose have wrestled 10 million times.
It feels that way.
Yeah, it's just like, and okay, so I understand if they want to keep it so kayfabe-wise, Nyla is the top killer, and she always is, and I guess that's fine. But like you said, I have no exposure to the other performer who has been only working in this online tournament, which whatever. But I had a similar. I don't think you're wrong at all. I felt very similar about this.
It's just the women's division. It was like 2 steps forward, 1 step back, or maybe even 2 steps back. It's just they just can't sustain any momentum. It's kind of, I don't know. It's just somebody's making the wrong decisions in regards to AEW's women's division. And, and now we have a title match at a pay-per-view that, quite honestly, looking at the rest of the card, is probably the match I care about the least.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think if you just subbed out Britt or Thunder Rosa, I think you'd have a much more interesting match.
Agreed. Absolutely.
Okay, so next we had the show kind of winds down here, because next is Preston Vance and Max Caster. Neither of whom is a big name or a huge I think Caster could be something at one point, but he's got a long way to go. I don't know about Preston Vance, but this was for the last spot, with the exception of, I guess, the mystery person. In the ladder match, and Max Caster got it. I thought it was fine, but we're really an SNL booking now, where I'm like, I don't care about these skits.
Pretty much, yeah. It's just filling out the ladder match, and that's pretty much all the thought that went into this.
Yeah, and then we had our main event, which I don't think should have been the main event in 2021. It's John Silver and a Hangman and Matt Hardy and Mark Quinn. There's 4 people in this match. Only one of them is really over. And he's not over enough to carry the rest of them. I would not have ended the show like this. I've said it before, I've said it again. 45-year-old Matt Hardy is not an asset to this company. There is a vocal fan base that thinks he is, and that thinks he means something. And I'm not sure where that's come from, but I thought Matt Hardy was an issue in 2013, in 2012, when he was in Ring of Honor and he wasn't doing anything, and that's that's 9 years ago, So to me, it's okay, how, I've heard people say, whoa, he was an integral part of one of wrestling's most popular eras. I'm like, okay, so are we going to bring Stevie Ray in? Are we going to it's just how far down do we go where we're just this guy existed at this point in time, so let's use him now. Come on. I mean, John Silver, I think, could be something, but once again, I thought this was the wrong move. I wouldn't be surprised if like ratings took a nosedive at this point. I wasn't really interested in this match. I hope Hangman just goes through Hardy, and then we can move on to something more interesting with him.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm okay with them doing the pay-per-view match, but it's like, dude, Paige has to go over. There's no a Hardy going over shouldn't even be on the table.
Yeah. I mean, he beat Sammy Guevara like 800 times, so you never know with this guy.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Okay, so you have the Revolution card pulled up. Is that correct?
I do.
Why don't you start us off? We can do our pay-per-view preview and talk about what we think.
Okay, we have a pre-show match, Riho and Thunder Rosa taking on Britt Baker and Rebel, all of whom, except for Rebel, I mean, these are probably would have been better options for the title match, but be that as it may, they will be in a tag team battle on the pre-show.
Yes, I feel like I'm more interested in this match than I am the actual women's title match.
Yeah, because I want to see Thunder Rosa and I want to see Britt Baker. That's really what it comes down to at this point.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean that'll be good.
Okay, and then we've got the tag team Casino Battle Royale with the winner getting a world tag team title shot. The teams listed here are Bear Country, who have wrestled a few times on Dark, and I kind of like them because they're big.
I like them too, yeah.
Yeah, the Dark Order pairing of Alex Reynolds and John Silver, Dark Order pairing of Evil Uno and Stu Grayson, Inner Circle, Santana and Ortiz, the Butcher and the Blade, my guys, Private Party, Top Flight, Death Triangle pairing Pac and Ray Phoenix, the Varsity Blondes, Jesus, I didn't realize how many tag teams they had, the Seidel Brothers, Matt and Mike, SoCal Uncensored, Kazarian and Daniels, Natural Nightmares, Chaos Project, Gun Club, Austin Club and Colin Gunn, and more teams to be announced. Like, good Lord, you got enough teams there?
Yeah, the Rock and Roll Express are going to show up.
You joked, but they might.
They probably will. Proud and Powerful and Reynolds and Silver. I think Reynolds, if it's Reynolds and Silver, then the Bucks are probably going over, and you get a mid pay-per-view. Like in 2 weeks, they'll get a title shot, and you can build that up or whatever. I think if Proud and Powerful wins, and I think that could be the way to go, you have this Inner Circle feud, and it starts to you start to have the breakdown of the Inner Circle there. So that's who I think. But it's a battle royal, could be really fun. I like their tag battle royals. I like that both people have to be eliminated. I think it's interesting doing it that way. So it should be fun.
Yeah, I agree. As far as who wins, I think again I'm leaning towards like one of the Dark Order pairings or Inner Circle. It's got to be one of them. So that's where my mind is at the moment.
Yeah.
All right, next up we have the tag match that I mentioned earlier, Miro and Kip Sabian taking on the Best Friends, Orange Cassidy and Chuck Taylor. Now, I'm going to rant on Penelope Ford here for a second. That face in the cake bit that she did at the wedding segment, we didn't have a chance to talk about this. Somebody needs to show her how to do a pratfall into a cake, because she did not get enough coverage. Not nearly enough icing on her face there.
I agree. I will forgive her for the wedding outfit, the wedding dress she chose, but you are correct. There was... the classic face in cake did not happen there.
No, it kind of reminded me of the end of Ghostbusters, where all the other Ghostbusters are covered in the marshmallow bit, except for Bill Murray, who's only got a little bit in his hair.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
Yeah. For some reason, I know you didn't, and that doesn't happen at the end of 2, but I thought you said Ghostbusters 2.
No, I meant Ghostbusters 1. If I said Ghostbusters 2.
No, you didn't. I was just thinking of Ghostbusters 2 for some reason. I'm like, why would he reference that? But
Vigo the Carpathian is really cool. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Also, the River of Slime. There are cool things in that movie. It's not terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think what the hell match are we even? Oh, it's the Best Friends match. I think it's Miro and Kip. I don't think they signed Miro to not get him these wins, and I think they're going to build him up eventually to a bigger spot. So I think Miro and Sabian go over, and I think it's probably an okay match.
I'm going to go different. I say best friends win, and that leads to a split between Miro and Sabian, because we've been saying it, like Miro, whatever they're doing with him is just not working, and I think this might be an opportunity to pull the plug on that and move him off into a more viable direction.
Yeah, agreed.
All right. Next up, we've got the big money match, Adam Page versus Matt Hardy, with the winner receiving the loser's first quarter earnings.
I think it's going to be Hangman. I hope it's going to be Hangman, but holy shit, if it's Matt Hardy, that's going to be the fucking worst thing. I mean, it's got to be Hangman, right? Unless they're going to like have him lose and then like have like, I mean, they just did kind of like the Butler angle. So like, I can't see them having him lose, really.
It's got to be Hangman. There's literally no other option I'll accept.
Yeah.
It's got to be him.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we've got the women's title match, which we've basically already previewed. Shida versus Mizunami. I don't know. We're going to talk about the signing in a little bit. I have a theory on who that signing might be, and that if I'm right, this might be the best place to debut said person. But other than that, I don't really care about this at all.
Yeah. So we'll leave the signing talk to the end. Let's go to the next match.
All right, next match. It's the ladder match, Face of the Revolution ladder match. Winner getting an AEW TNT Championship match. So far, we have Cody Rhodes, Scorpio Sky, Penta El Zero Miedo, Lance Archer, Max Caster, and someone else to be announced.
Which is going to be different than the big signing. So they normally. Cage was the last mystery guy that I remember, and he won at Double or Nothing. Do you remember the last time a mystery person was announced for one of these multi-mans in AEW?
I think it was when Seidel showed up, and he had a Shockmaster moment, unfortunately. But
yes,
he was one of those, I believe.
So I'm thinking it's going to be. I think it's going to be Ethan Page, actually.
That'd be interesting. And this is another one of those opportunities. If they want to have a working relationship with New Japan and Impact and other things, it's like this might be a good place to debut one of those guys.
Yeah. I think it's going to be Penta, so they can do a Penta Derby match. That's who I think is going to win.
Ooh, there's your big Halloween match. Save that shit for October. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my pick. What about you?
I would like to see Penta get it, just because I think you and I are bigger fans of Penta than most people, because we saw him in Lucha Underground and we know what he can do. He's basically a luchador version of Stone Cold Steve Austin with like a slight like kind of Undertaker-ish vibe to him based on his presentation and gimmick. But right now, given the direction, it'll probably be whoever the mystery person is.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Next.
All right, next we've got the tag team title match, the Young Bucks defending against Chris Jericho and MJF.
I have no idea. I really don't.
I think this is probably the toughest call on the card.
So on one side, you've got the Bucks. You don't think the Bucks will lose because they just got it at Full Gear. That's only like a few months ago. So I feel like they wouldn't lose right away. That said, you also have an opportunity to do like a breakdown of the Inner Circle over the tag titles, which they've already like. It's a new way to go into like the breakup angle, but you also have a way in where Jericho and MJF like have some sort of miscommunication. So I think there's more on the side of the Bucks winning than the Inner Circle. So I am going to say the Young Bucks go over.
Yeah, and there's a couple X factors at play here too, because we have the Good Brothers getting involved and their ties to the Young Bucks, and also Sammy Guevara is he gonna be the poison pill that ruins things for the Inner Circle, given that he's outside of the group now. So
Yes.
a lot of different things they can play with here. I'm going to err on the side of caution and say the Bucks could win, but I would not be surprised if Inner Circle took the gold here.
Yeah. All right.
And next up we have, I guess, one of the big attractions for this that people want to see, and that's Sting's AEW debut. It's a street fight, him and Darby Allin taking on Team Taz, Brian Cage and Ricky Starks. There's no way on earth that Sting loses this.
I agree. I think it's I agree. This will be a cinematic match. I think Sting and Darby go over. I don't think there's any other way to do it, because you're putting over your young star and the guy that came in to get him over. I think there's a lot of sensitivity to Sting losing based on how his WWE run went. So yeah, I think 100% this is the easiest match to call. Sting and Darby go over, and hopefully it's fun and there's lots of like Gaga, and I think it could be cool.
I'll say this, we didn't talk about it on Dynamite, but Sting, I'm not saying he looked like he did in his heyday, but it's like, he's a little quicker and a little faster, and he bumps a little bit better than I would have expected.
I agree. He does look, excuse me, I got to sneeze. Ooh, pardon me.
Bless you.
Thank you. Yes, I agree. He moves better than I would have expected. That said, Sting, maybe some hair plugs on that spot in the back there.
That's all natural, man. Let nature take its course.
Yeah. Then we got our main event next, right?
Main event, exploding barbed wire death match for the world title. Kenny Omega taking on Jon Moxley. This is going to be fascinating to watch.
21 with the sensitivity of what our society is, that we would see a match like this, but it's different and interesting, and like it's they're definitely going for a different audience than WWE is, and that's what they're providing here. I think this could be insane. I mean, their Lights Out match was insane at Full Gear 2019, so I expect this to top it or at least match it. I think Omega's going over. I think he kind of has to keep this storyline going, but I just think seeing this match is going to be a big deal. Yeah,
and full-on spectacle, violence galore here. So if you're into that type of stuff, this is for you. I say Omega wins, and again, depending on who the big signing is, I think this is another potential place to debut said person, depending on who it is. But I guess we'll talk about that in just a couple seconds.
Okay, so let's talk about that. Let's talk about the possible signing possibilities for this. So I think I know who you think it's going to be. I'm going to let you say it so everyone can go, but I'm going to text you in our chat right now so you can see who I think it is. You tell me if I'm right or not, and then you tell people who you think it is.
Okay, that was not who I was thinking. And actually, because I've been talking to a couple of people over all of today, and so I've got it down to 4 potentials that I think it could be. One is way out there and completely unlikely. But I'm thinking it's got to be someone bigger than Big Show, because they had Big Show come out and say that this person's coming. So, all right, so it's got to be somebody that makes more of a splash than Big Show, I would think. And immediately my mind went to CM Punk and Brock Lesnar. Those were the 2 names that popped up for me. I think Lesnar would be the bigger get at this point. I think Punk, and we've talked about it, I think his brand is diminished after the UFC fights, after going back to work that D-level WWE show, and that was his first return to wrestling in 5 or 6 years or whatever. But I could see it being Punk or Brock. Another way out there one that was pitched to me was John Cena, which I would be very unlikely. It'd be huge, but it would be very, very unlikely. But the reasoning that this person gave me was that's like, well, he is doing that show with TBS, so there's an in there with Turner, and it would be like, that would be an easy way, an avenue to open up discussions with Cena. So, which is similar to how Hogan wound up in WCW, because he was doing the show Trouble in Paradise and all that jazz. But so that's an option. The other one that I was thinking, I'm trying to think, okay, who are like the big independent talents that are kind of a lightning rod that you could sign that would generate a huge spark and generate a lot of discussion. And again, this also plays into my idea of them trying to fix the women's division. What if it's Tessa Blanchard? Because there's been a lot of talk of signing her, and should they sign her? Is it too controversial of a pick? Yada, yada, yada. But what if it's her? And this would be the stage to debut her and make her, have her give her big splash into AEW's women's division. And I think your pick, the one that you just sent me, is thinking along those same lines. So
to be clear, the pick I sent you was not my pick. That's what I thought you were going to say.
Oh, okay.
So for those of you who, since you can't see our chat, I thought Patrick was going to say AJ Lee, because you mentioned coming out during the women's match. I do not think it's a chance in hell it's Tessa Blanchard. I think it would have happened by now. I don't think it is. But I'm agreeing with you as far as everything else you're saying. Here's the thing. They have set themselves up to either totally fail with this or to hit a huge home run. Because, like you said, it has to be bigger than Big Show. Big Show's thing was a big fucking deal. Like, say what you want about Big Show. When Big Show got signed the other week, like, outlets were talking about it. Like, it was a major deal.
I didn't even know he was gone from WWE.
Yeah, it was a big deal. And I have heard people say names that if they were to actually be the people, the actual signing, it would be such a failure on AEW's parts. I've heard Christian going around.
I've heard that.
If you think, I mean, maybe Tony Khan's an idiot. I don't know. If you think Christian is a bigger name than Big Show and would be worthy of the Big Show hyping him up as a major signing, I don't know what to tell you. Like, that's so stupid. Like, I like Christian. I liked his TNA run. I liked him in WWE.
See, now if this was 2005, we'd be having a different discussion about that, I think.
We'd be having a different discussion, but still, like, he even in 2005, he's not bigger than Big Show, like and he would be, and that was always the thing with TNA. Like, Christian is a number like 3 or 4 wide receiver. He's a good player on your team, but you're not going to build the entire team around him. Like, you need to get a guy like Rock and Jericho and guys like that at that time, or Brock at that time, or Brock today. But you have to go big with that. So what you're saying is correct, because there are 4 names. Now, keep in mind, in my list, I'm not having guys like Roman Reigns or Kazuchika Okada that I know are locked up to long-term deals. Mm-hmm. But there are 4 guys that would validate what Big Show says. They have to be able to still perform. I'm not saying like every week, but like still perform. The 4 names are CM Punk, Brock Lesnar, John Cena, and Dave Batista. Those are the names. I love Jay White. I think Jay White's fantastic. Jay White would be a letdown.
Because let's face it, most American fans don't know who he is.
Yeah, and that's I love Cesaro. It would be a letdown if it was Cesaro.
Yes.
He would
be a better debut for the ladder match.
Yeah, yes, I agree. And people are saying, it could be Angle. That would be such a letdown. Like, people are saying Bret Hart. We saw Bret Hart at Double or Nothing 2019. Like, it has to be, if they're going to pay this off in a way that doesn't disappoint everybody, it's going to have to be a huge thing. Otherwise, you shouldn't have built it up like that. And to their credit, they've never done this before. So I really do wonder if it's something so big, because AEW hasn't let me down in a lot of cases. Maybe this is the first time. I mean, this is what carnies do, So like, this is this business. So, but let's go back to those people we talked about, Patrick. By the way, AJ Lee, I think, would also be a letdown. Let's go to CM Punk. I have waited and waited and waited for CM Punk for years to do something with AEW. And it doesn't seem like it's ever going to happen. He seems like he's just not interested in wrestling unless it's for WWE. He seems like he's a very big fan of WWE. From what I understood, like he felt they didn't make enough of an overture for him the first time. So there's so many, like, I think he's pissed off Cody and the Bucks and how he's handled all this stuff. He had a Q&A today on Twitter, and he's like, I'll answer questions. He's like, I'll give you one free. It's not me. And Punk has always, to his credit, every time people he's rumored to be at a show, he says, I'm not going to be there. And he's always correct. So it's either a carny thing or he does what he always does, which is tell the truth. Now that said, he had that interview with Renee, and he said, she was like, what would it take for you to come back to wrestling? And he's like, on top of a lot of money, or like, other than a lot of money, a great story or whatever. I wonder if Tony Khan heard that and said, well, okay, so is that what I need to do? And came up with some great story that Punk could be a part of, and he pitched it to him, and maybe he sold him on it. I don't know. Maybe. We'll see. So many doubts it'll be CM Punk based on every single thing that's happened since AEW came into existence. After Revolution last year, I think that All Out, I think 2019, I think it was like, I'm like, yeah, he's just not gonna show up at this. Brock is interesting because Brock has zero loyalty to Vince. He only has loyalty to money. Yep. But as Jerry Briscoe pointed out a while ago, Brock will take that offer that Tony Khan has, and he'll take it right to Vince, and Vince will probably match or top it. So I don't see Vince ever letting Brock go there. Like, it's almost a matter of pride. I think Brock would be worth it for Tony, even if he's a lost leader. Like, even if you're unable to, like, recoup the money, like, you do it to grow the brand in the long term, you know? And like, I think it would be worth it. But I just can't see Vince letting him go. Then we go to Cena. Cena, I think, is perhaps the best option, honestly, of all of these guys, because he's super well known, possibly even more known than Brock at this point. He's doing movies. You're right, he is on that TBS show. We talked about that. And he makes sense to a point because Big Show is friends with him. And apparently Tony Khan said on the AEW Unrestricted podcast today that the only people that know about this, obviously the third person is whoever they sign, but are Tony Khan and Big Show. So it seems like Big Show was instrumental in bringing him here. But there's also the fact that Cena has an incredible loyalty to Vince. Now, unless there's something we don't know about, unless there's like an issue like the 2005 stuff with Rock and Vince, where they didn't renew his contract and there was hurt feelings all around and they had to repair their relationship eventually. Unless there's something we don't know about, I cannot see Cena saying, yeah, I'm going over there. It makes a lot of sense on paper. He would be able to pursue other projects. He wouldn't have to give them a cut. He would get a ton of money. It would increase his the kind of the corporate synergy. But I can't see him doing that. So that leaves us with Batista. Batista, I think, would be totally fine going to AEW. I don't think he has any qualms about like not going there, because I think it's his style of show as opposed to WWE's sanitized version, which he's been very vocal. However,
he'd be allowed to blade.
Yeah, he'd be allowed to blade. Batista, though, has said he's retired. He had a thing today, and he said, "Oh, I've retired. It really means something." So you've got two guys who said they're not going. One guy who you couldn't picture going, and then seems Vince would not allow to go. He would pay like whatever it is to keep him. So either somebody's lying, we're going to be really shocked, or it's underwhelming. And I hope that's not the case. I hope we're not going to have Mark Henry or...
I've seen his name thrown around. Mark Henry, I've seen that one thrown around, which that would, again, no knock on these people, but it's just like, dude, you set the bar pretty high.
Or some of these guys that I've seen bandied around, I'm like, I'm going to be really sad if that happens. I'm going to I am so invested in this, and I'm like, it could be something like really cool. And honestly, out of all those guys, I don't know. Part of me thinks it could be Brock. Part of me thinks it could be Punk. Part of me thinks it could be Cena would shock you. I really don't know.
Cena would be the most shocking because, again, more than probably anybody, Cena is a WWE product through and through. Most of the other big names in the history of wrestling, the only other one I can think of would be Ultimate Warrior and The Rock. But most everybody else had some kind of ties elsewhere before getting to the WWE and becoming what they ultimately became. Cena is a true blue WWE guy, and if he walked out on AEW, we'd all just collectively shit our pants.
So I'm going to ask you two questions, Patrick.
All right.
One, of the four that we've kind of been talking about here, who do you think is the most likely to show up on Sunday?
I would say Brock, because I can see, you give him enough of a paycheck, I could see him just going to AEW. And I don't know, I feel like the relationship between Brock and Vince has always been at least somewhat contentious. There's that famous clip of Brock throwing the belt at him after the Mania main event didn't work.
Isn't that a work?
Was it a work?
I think it was, but
I had never heard that. But in any case, Brock is the type of guy I could totally see going there. Punk doesn't seem that interested to me. Cena seems impossible. And Batista, I really do believe that he's retired. I really and that's one that I actually believe, where it's that Triple H match just felt like his last swan song and he's just done with it. But I think of those four, I think Brock would be the most likely.
Okay, now, second question. Who do you think it's going to be?
Who?
Because obviously, out of the four, you think Brock's the most likely, but that doesn't necessarily mean you think Brock's showing up. So who do you think, gun to your head, who do you think showing up on Sunday?
I mean, I hope it's not one of those letdowns like we talked about. I hope to God it's not like an RVD or a Christian. Again, no knock on those guys, but this has got to be big. You promised something big. So, I don't know. I think I would still say Brock. Because the other ones I'm having a hard time picturing actually showing up. Brock is the one guy I could see actually doing it. So I'm going to go with Brock.
Okay. We are going to see, guys. We're going to see on Sunday night if they, if it doesn't live up or if it's something super cool. We will see, and we will be talking about it next week. I want to thank everybody for joining us today, or however you're listening to us. Remember to like, comment, subscribe. We really do appreciate it. Hearing from you guys and all those things do help the show. So thanks so much. And I'm Eric Clancy alongside Patrick Kelly, and we are
signing off.